jump.
Hey.
Does that make sense? So imagine the verb to jump.
Okay.
That would change in certain ways depending on whether
おはよう
you
ご
are
ざい
saying
ま
positively or
す。
negatively, such as I jump or I did
日
not
本
jump
語
or
ク
an
ラスを
active. Are
始
you
め
okay?
ます。今
Yes,
日
yes,
も
I'm sorry.
Whether it's in the past or present.
今日も皆さん
Whereas
来てくだ
death,
さってあ
while
り
it
が
does
とうござい
change,
ま
doesn't
す。
change
Thank
in
you
the
for
same way.
joining.
So it would help us to learn these things
Okay.
separately, one
あれ
thing at a time. But we're going to go through probably
あれ
as we go through.
I know, right?
Don't worry about not getting it all at once. That's part of what we're doing here. Is to
Mm.
just learn it little bit by little bit.
I'm trying to adjust this, but oh. I have a hard time doing this. Okay. I don't know. This Facebook Live I can't figure out very well. ¿Quién fue a Japón? Sure.
So I got my certificate of eligibility.
Oh.
Se supone que dura 6 meses.
Oh, 6 meses, ¿no más?
Yeah, it's pretty short. ¿Dónde vas? Last year. Oh no, wait. El documento que tengo que utilizar para pedir la visa dura 6 meses.
¿Y dónde vas?
Allá, donde yo quiera.
Para verlo, sea porque yo me voy a
I want to think about how to do that Facebook Live, so in the meantime, どうぞ。
Okay.
It's inside.
インスタ見たミシェルさん。Tell him what is this?
I'm a foreigner.
Yeah, she might know, but Miguel could
Gai Kokujin.
Guy genius. Means I'm a foreigner.
I don't know kanji.
Oh, that's okay. We're just,
We mentioned kanji, but kanji are what the more advanced students get to play around with. While we don't spend as much time on that here, though, because it's meant to be more basic. So, okay. So what we usually do first is go through hiragana, one column at a time. Now, I think you said you've studied hiragana.
You want to write?
Okay, so yeah, this will just be review for the.
Like,
Nani?
if you think of other ones in kanji, or you want to write them in kanji, I just wanted to keep challenging you around.
So this is the what I'd call like the S column of hiragana, sa, shi, su, se, so. Once again, I think since all of us have, well, some of us have studied hiragana, some of us grew up with hiragana. So this shouldn't be too difficult. We'll start with sa. Would anybody like to try this one on for size? This incredibly uncommon word. Anyone? Yes, exactly. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Already getting started very, very well. Excellent. And that, of course, means. Right. Right. No. Like I said, we try to start basic. We've been doing even more basic in the past couple of weeks just to get people going.
It's good.
Yep.
Go ahead.
what? Read?
No, I know that's too easy for you. You can write the kanji on the board.
Ishao-san?
Seriously.
Samui, which means, right, which has a particular applicability today.
Yeah, for sure.
Miguel-san, would you like to try this one? Nada. Right, which is a more formal goodbye, as opposed to matane or something that's a bit more colloquial, not quite as. Think about the difference between bye versus farewell in a way.
Yeah, we use it though.
Right.
I mean, I use it with somebody who's like older,
Mm-hmm.
older than me, or in formal settings. So it's not like unheard of.
Right.
It's just that we don't use it to our friends.
Right.
My understanding, the only place that I've ever seen it used in real life is students saying goodbye to their teacher for the day.
Something like that. That makes sense.
Which is going to be to a more formal
Mm.
receiver of what you're saying, as opposed to, perhaps it's a better way of explaining it. It's bye versus goodbye. Like you're not going to that bye is more quick and less formal, whereas goodbye, you don't often hear it. You don't hear it as much, but it certainly is more formal.
Maybe bye versus fare thee well.
Exactly.
Nobody says that, but it exists, right?
Well,
Well, it is used, and
Right.
Japanese tongue, yeah. Why?
No, I mean
Farewell? Yeah.
No, farewell, fare thee well.
yeah.
It's like a long version of farewell.
Fare thee well. Well, because
It's a long version.
for Old English 101, the idea of farewell is literally that you may fare well. So the thee is for you, may thee fare well kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
People didn't think they would learn
Not
Old
that
English.
formal, I don't know.
No, it's not that formal. So it's more so in general, the idea is that sayonara is more formal than matane or bye bye.
You can say this when you leave this class if you want.
Yeah.
It's not inappropriate.
And so you said sayonara. Michelle-san, can you read this one? Sanpo, which is? Yeah, exactly, to walk. Well, to walk would be sanpo suru. Yeah.
It's not to walk.
It's a walk.
It's a
Sanpo
walk.
suru would be to walk.
It's like the purpose of it is to walk. It's not to go from here to here. Yes, exactly. To walk, the verb is aruku,
Aruku.
but sanpo is if you want to make it verb, sanpo suru.
Sanpo suru, yeah, with the helping verb.
Yeah, it's like literally like
Go for it.
I'm gonna take a walk. I want to go for a walk. So that's like the noun for that.
Mhm. Now on to shi, which is one of the unconventional hiragana because it's not just the consonant s followed by vowel. It is slightly different. So this is probably fairly elementary for you. But would you want to read one just so that we don't feel uninvolved, or
Sure.
sure?
What's it?
Which means
Happy.
because I'm happy. No, thank you.
Shawase?
Shiawase, happy.
She.
Shiawase. Mm-hmm. Now, have you, Miguel-san, have you seen these before?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you like to try reading this one?
Okay, no.
Hmm?
No? Go.
She, the whole thing.
Okay.
So the K's become G's.
She got it.
Exactly, very good.
Oh, that means work.
Work or job, very good. Michelle-san, would you like to try this one? Shimaru, which means? Correct. It is like to close a door. It's to close something, but in this particular case, it's for when you are closing a thing, as opposed to the thing closing. Let's say the door, swung shut by itself, as opposed to you pulling the door closed. This is the latter, where you're the one closing something. Make sense? And shumi, which is hobby. Right. Very good. Have you, Miguel, have you seen where the ya, you, and yo become smaller?
I'm not sure the meaning or why they do it.
So so for the y column, ya, you, and yo, when those become sort of literally tinier by comparison to if they were the full size, when they become tinier, that means that the ya, you, or yo, the sound of it gets blended into the previous hiragana syllable. So instead of shi, you, it's shu. So it's almost as though it becomes one sound together. That's fairly unique for the ya, you, yo column, that it can shrink like that to have the sound come together as one. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And there's one more for the next syllable, I think.
For the one after it, yes.
Yeah, like make a pause.
Yes, that's when the tsu becomes smaller. It creates a pause, and then you accentuate the consonant of the next hiragana syllable. So, you said shumi. Miguel-san, would you like to try? Now we're on to su. Would you like to try this one?
Sushi.
Sushi, which means sushi. Yeah, shockingly. Yeah. Michelle-san, would you try this one?
Suzushi.
Suzushi, which means it's similar to this, but not quite the same.
It's like
Actually, cool.
yeah.
Cool. So it's not as cold as it's not as cold as sumitai or samui. It's brisk essentially, or cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last time we did try this one,
Su.
sumu, which is the verb for
To live.
to live. It can be to live in a place.
To live, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, to live,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. To live in a location.
Yeah.
The verb ikiru could also mean literally to live, as in I am alive. Whereas this is more so to live. Miami ni
To
sumimasu.
reside.
What-
Where you reside. Where you reside. To live in the place where you reside.
Reside. Okay. I thought you said recite. I was like, recite what? And this one we've already met a few minutes ago. Because I wanted to try this one. Suru, which functions as a helping verb that can be attached to a lot of nouns like sanpo, to create sanpo suru, to go for a walk or to go for a stroll. Suru can be attached to any number of nouns to create the verb version of that noun. Benkyo would be the verb for literally study. Benkyo suru is to study.
It's like this.
In English, it functions similar to des, but in Japanese, the grammar is different between. So suru conjugates like a normal verb, whereas des is in its own special category. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we've done sa, shi, su. Se. Now we're on to se. Is somebody like to try this? Sekai, which means
I forgot.
world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way, are you heading out or? Okay, yeah. No worries. I didn't want anybody to feel uninvolved. Here's a somewhat different one. Maran-san, would you like to try this one?
Senko.
Which means
I don't know.
senko is major, like a college major. So if I say, so the word for history is rekishi. If I say, watashi, me, or I, watashi no senko wa rekishi desu, I'm saying my major is history. So senko is history. Also, as I've mentioned in other contexts, when you have the u hiragana following a hiragana that ends in o, the sounds blend together to create a sort of elongated sound of senko as opposed to senko-u. It doesn't change immediately from the o to the u. It sort of it continues as one overall sound that blends together.
I've seen the same with E.
Yes, e following e. E following a hiragana that ends in e. So, what would be an example? Sensei, precisely. That the e at the end of sensei blends into the se right before it. Thank you, Maron-san. Speaking of which, before we get to that one, Loretta-san, first off, welcome. Would you like to try this one here? We're doing sa, shi, su, se. Se.
I'm trying to remember that. It's not,
It's in the N column.
oh, it's not.
Senna.
Senaka.
Right, thank you very much. And do you know what that means?
Well, I know it's not the Indians.
No.
The Seneca Indians or the apple. but-
No, the Japanese didn't have the foresight to realize that the Seneca Indians would be a thing. Seneca is back.
Okay.
And then we talked about sensei before. Sensei is teacher, or it could be used in the context of a doctor as well. It more literally refers to somebody who is a master of a certain academic craft, whether that's medicine or in general academia. So you can see that in other contexts too. On to so. Saru-san, would you like to try one down here? Soji, which is cleaning. Cleaning, like
Clean.
cleaning. Yeah, clean. And so if I combine solji with the helping verb suru, solji suru, it is to clean. Here's a fairly common one. Maron, somebody take this. So desu, which is that is so. That
is.
that both literally and figuratively.
Yes.
It's the idea of if somebody says a fact that I know to be true, so desu is essentially a reaffirmation of yes, that is the case. Make sense? This one is something we'll see soon enough in the grammar we go over. You guys want me to try this? Soko, which do you know what that means? Soko is it's there, but it's close. It means the word. It means there in the sense of if I'm pointing at a particular location that is not where I am, but not far away there. Usually, when I'm referring to soko, it is the there where. Say I'm talking to Maron-san, and I use the word soko. It means the there where he is located, as opposed to somewhere at the other side of the parking lot. Koko, as we'll talk about eventually, refers to here, like where I am. And then asoko is there, somewhere else that isn't where I am or where the person who I'm talking to is. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are the hiragana. Before we, yes. Oh, I missed one. Sorry about that. And Michelle-san, would you try this one?
それから
And do you know what that means?
is it like and then?
And then, yeah. There's a number of things that mean and then in English. This is more in the context of following whatever I just said, then this happened, or this is the next step. So an example could be instructions on baking something or making some kind of food, that after you do a certain step, and then you do blank. Make sense? Any questions about anything? Okay. Speaking of grammar, let me just move over a little bit so that way it's a bit easier. So, naturally, there's some of you for whom this is more basic, but that way we go over it detail by detail for those who haven't read this stuff before yet. What we're going to talk about today is our most basic conceivable sentence structure: X, Y, des. Speaking of des, this is now where we're going through it in more detail. We've talked before in other weeks about particles as well as the word des. Particles are words that get attached to other words to indicate what their role in the sentence is. Whether it's the subject of the sentence, whether it's the object of a verb, what is this word doing in the sentence? That way we know how to fit what's going on in our own minds. Since we have these building blocks of particles and des, we can now see how they're used to make basic sentences. One of the most common particles is wa. Now that hiragana syllable is pronounced as wa. In this case and a few other cases, even though normally it's ha. I'm not sure why that is the case, but nevertheless it is. The easiest, albeit imperfect, way to explain what the particle wa is that it indicates what the main subject or topic of the sentence is. Take this sentence as an example. Jane throws the ball to the dog. In this English sentence, Jane is the subject because she is the one performing the action or verb. That would be the English grammar version of it. Likewise, in the Japanese version of this sentence, Jane's name plus the honorific of san would most likely be followed by the particle wa. Jane-san wa. As we talked about before, sometimes the subject of a sentence isn't explicitly stated in Japanese if the two people talking already know who did whatever the action/verb of the sentence is. So sometimes it's just left out. For our purposes, we'll include it just so that way it keep things simple. However, this is the underlying idea of the subject or the main topic of the sentence being followed by wa. Be careful though, because the wa particle is not the same thing as the English grammar idea of a sentence subject, like Jane being the one throwing, being the subject of the verb who's doing the throwing of the ball. They often fulfill the same role, but they don't have to. The wa particle is meant to follow the main subject, the main topic of the sentence, but that main subject doesn't have to be the person who performed the action or verb of that sentence. This is just as a cautionary thing. They're in general the same thing, but not always. Like I said, it often indicates the subjects as we understand it, but don't take that as an absolute. Everybody understand so far? Yes.
So the way that I learned it, which might make it simpler, is wa is used as ask for.
Yes.
Right? So whatever comes before wa. So ask for the table, ask for David, ask for benefit friend. So I think David wa. That's anything that follows refers to David.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the more literal Japanese translation for it. Now, des, as we've mentioned before, is your all-purpose is, am, or are when it is used unattached to anything else, and it's in the present context. It's in the present tense, like it's happening now, and it's positive as opposed to is not. Make sense? To give an x y des sentence is in the present tense and it's positively affirming whatever y is. Essentially, x is y, whatever y happens to be. To give an English example, take this sentence: the cat is fluffy. The word cat would fit in the place of x in our basic sentence with the particle wa. The word for cat is neko, so it'd be neko wa. The word fluffy would go where y is in the sentence, so it'd be fura fura des. All of this would be rounded out by des, which takes care of the word is in the sentence above. The cat is fluffy. Let's practice this. One example of how we can do this is talking about majors. Like I said, college majors with senko. Think back to, we said about we've said about this before. The particle no makes things more specific. So if I say watashi no something, it's my blank, as opposed to somebody else's. Which connects two nouns with the first one, the one before the no, making the second noun after the no more specific. So if it's watashi no senko, the senko is more general, major. If I'm adding watashi before the no, it's meaning it's my major. Or if I say Mauron-san no senko, it would be Mauron-san's major, and so on and so forth. Make sense? Yeah. You can often use this to indicate possession, whether it's a literal possession, as in it's my computer, or you can say it's my idea. You don't possess the idea in the sense of holding it in your hands, but it makes it more specific. If you're talking about college majors, the phrase my major would be, like I said, watashi no senko. Now, how would we say what our major is? Well, think about what we talk about with, I say the sentence, my major is history. The words my major are the subject of the sentence, the X in the sentence above. Also, since we can see that my major is, just use an example, my major is history, then history is our Y. X is Y, my major is history. Once again, the word is becomes des. So the watashi no senko wa rekishi desu. Make sense? Yeah, okay. So I just said that in the sentence just there. Now we can try this together, just as practice, just as what a basic sentence looks like. Naturally, for some of you, once again, this is very basic review, so I appreciate your patience. Would anybody like to try to take a stab at this, just to show an example, or practice it themselves, so that way they get used to what essentially the most basic sentence sounds like, so that way we can build to other sentences.
Watashi no senko.
Senko, yep.
Senko.
Wa. Mm-hmm.
Rekishi. Well, rekishi means history.
History, yeah.
History.
And then,
Yes.
yes, exactly, very good. Sato-san? Yeah, excellent, very good. Thank you. Would anybody like to try, for those who either are in college and have a major right now, or just to create a major for yourself so that way they have a chance of practice? Yes.
Let's say in a short way.
Sorry, what was that?
In a short way.
Oh, if somebody were to ask, oh, good, you want to say?
Wait, what's the question?
To make it shorter.
Simplify the.
Yeah, you can say senko wa rekishi desu.
Right. Because if somebody's talking to you, it's pretty clear whose major they're asking for. They're not asking for somebody else's. So you can just...
If they are, it's still clear because they will ask, right? So if they ask, what is her major? all you have to answer is major is, and you say the answer, right? So senko wa,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
understood that it's her major we're talking
Right.
about.
Or even, you can technically shorten it even more, that if we're already talking about majors, then you can just, and you say, ask what is their major, you can just say, what would be an example? Kagaku, kagaku desu, which is science. Because if it's already known that the two people are talking about majors, you can cut that word as well because it's being repetitive at that point.
Or if you're talking in a very, very, very casual conversation, you just kind of,
Right.
and that's it. That's the answer. And it means exactly the same thing. That's that sentence.
Right. But this is, like I said, this is the basic building blocks, so that way we know what the overlying structure is. It can be shortened, but that way we get where we're coming from. Any questions about anything? No? Okay. One other way that we can practice this is with nationalities. With nationalities, the word for what your nationality is becomes the name of the country plus the word jin. As such, given that the Japanese call Japan Nihon, the word for a Japanese person is Nihonjin. Oh, the ni, I didn't see where the ni went over, so because there's a glare on the light. Keep in mind that it's not as easy as simply adding the English name of a country plus jin, because they don't call them Japanjin. That would just sound odd. You have to combine the Japanese name of the country with jin. However, once you have that, you're good to go. Plus, going back to our x wa y des sentence, you can plug watashi wa Amerikajin desu, or someone else's name plus the san honorific for X and the nationality for Y, and you have another basic sentence. Once again, like what we were saying, you don't, if it's already clear who you're talking about, you could potentially shorten it to Amerikajin desu, or Nihonjin desu, or Chugokujin desu, which is a Chinese person. But this is, once again, just so that way we're working our way more simple and then getting more complicated. So, for example, Miyamoto-san wa Nihonjin desu. Would anybody like to try with other nationality words that they know, just to have some fun with this? Yes, Maran-san. Cuba-jin desu. Yep. Hmm? I heard you saying something. Thank you.
I think
Mm-hmm.
Half of this, half wa Nicaragua to Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Kankokujin desu. Yep. Which is a Korean person. You'll see that some countries, their Japanese word is an indigenous Japanese word for that country, whereas other countries, usually the ones whose existence to Japan was discovered later, had a word that is more closer to what that other country's name for itself is. So, for example, France is Furansu. So a French person would be Furansujin. Loretta, would you like to try one? Just any country that you can think of?
Well, I'm just gonna say many countries.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that works too. America is one that fairly easily transliterates into Japanese, so that one's kind of fortunate. So is Canada. Canada-jin desu. Yes, sorry. Yeah, exactly. Very, very good. And so that's what we have for that one. And that's what we have for grammar for right now. Next, we have a Bible verse that we can go over. That since this is Japanese Christian community, we try as often as we can to have a Bible verse in Japanese, Espanol, and English together to practice for one, and also to, just as a shared discussion topic on another point. Don't worry about the kanji, because on the next slide over we have a just hiragana version as well to make things easier. This is just for practice as well as just to give some context for things. For those of us who are able to read kanji, which I think apart from Miki-san, is by this Maran-san and myself. Maran-san, would you like to try the first line, or up to here, for example? Would you mind?
I can try.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, no worries.
And okay, let's start off with the first word. You want to start with the first word?
Sure. Sure. Want to start?
Yes.
Sure. 思い上がってる者たちよ。Shall I keep going?
That's fine. So, okay. So, 思い上がってる思い上がってる者たちよ。私は思いたちの
敵。
敵は
敵は、enemy です。
何？
or foe. 敵。
私たちの敵になる。
Mm-hmm. Want me to take the next line? Do you want to keep going?
I'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
お前たちの裁き。
Sabaki would be like, correct me if I'm wrong, Miki-san. Sabaki is in the like judgment, right? Yes.
私の裁きの日がついに来たのだ。
Mm-hmm. The next one sounds out similar to the verb, not a verb, adjective that uses that kanji. Taka. Mm-hmm.
高ぶる
Kunio.
高ぶる国よ。お前はつまずいて
Mm-hmm.
変
Tao.
わらない。
Tao.
倒
Taoreru.
れるが
Mm-hmm.
誰も起こしてくれない。
Mm-hmm.
私が待ち
I think it's well because see the one right after it. They would imply a repetition of this. So if I'm not mistaken, it's chocho, right? Or machi. Is it machi machi or chocho? It's machi machi. Okay.
に
Mm-hmm.
火
Mm-hmm.
をマシマシに火をつけ何もかもわからない。
Hi.
はい。
Hi. It's like ashes.
灰にするからそっか。わかりました。
And I'll just finish this up. Jeremiah Shaw, Golju Shaw, 31から 32まで節. So it's Jeremiah chapter 50, verses 31 through 32. Before we go to the Spanish, just so that way we get continued practice with the Japanese, we'll come back to the Spanish in a moment. Here is the hiragana version with each word / particle spaced out from each other, so that way we know where one word ends or begins. Madison, since you already did so much for us just now, we'll give you a rest for a bit. Who would like to try up to the end of the first sentence here? Yes, Miguel-san. So, here. Omoi. Mm-hmm. So here's a little two. We have this space, and then you accentuate the beginning of this one.
So the vowel is longer?
No, it's more so that the
After it's accentuated.
it's a space. So this means it creates so it's agateru. There's a space in between the ga and the te, and the t in te gets a little bit of a more oomph. You know what I mean?
Agateru.
Exactly. Agateru.
Agateru.
Yes, Sato-san. Oh, sorry. I thought you were raising your hand. Yep.
Agateru.
Mm-hmm.
Monotachi.
Yep. Very good. Which roughly translates to those who monotachi would be mono is person, so monotachi. Tachi can be used sometimes to make something plural. Doesn't have to be used in all cases, because in a lot of cases, whether something is singular or plural is hidden within the context of the sentence. But tachi can be used to indicate that it's more than just one.
It means many things.
it can make many of whatever it's following. So since mono is person, it's people, effectively. It's many people. Omoi agatteiru is thinking, the omoi is like thoughts. It's thoughts, or it can also be used in the word for memory as well, but in general, just the idea of thinking. Together, the idea is thinking highly. So it's people who think highly of themselves, or in the English context, what's meant to be is those who are arrogant. Make sense? So, thank you, Migo-san. Michelle-san, would you like to try from here to the end of the next sentence?
私はお前たちの国だ。
Right. Which go to the English version of the verse, which we can't see here, but what it's saying, I am omai tachi. Omai is one way of saying you, and the tachi once again is to make things plural. So, and as we've seen with the no particle before, omai tachi no. So this is going to make this more specific. Teki, as we talked about on the other slide, means foe or enemy. So omai tachi no teki is your enemy, because omai tachi, omai would mean you, tachi makes it plural in this case. No teki, your enemy, as opposed to someone else's enemy. Ni naru would mean to become. The ni is a particle again, and naru refers to the verb to become something. So watashi wa, I am. Watashi wa, I am omai tachi no teki, your enemy, ni naru, going to become. Or more practically in English, I'm going to become your enemy. The enemy of those who are arrogant. Loretta-san, would you like trying from here to here, please?
Okay.
Oma,
Oma
Mhm.
tachi no sa
So it's normally ha, so when it at the
Ba.
10th, ba.
ki no
Oh, I missed that one. This is he. So that's not that's not your fault. So this I missed that kanji. So this is supposed to be he.
okay gi
Ga,
ga
ga,
shi
su,
oh
su.
oh su no su e
Su e,
na
ni.
ni
Mm-hmm.
ki it's like
Ki, yep.
okay ki na
Not na, but
ta
ta, right?
no da
Exactly. Thank you.
you know
No. Hey, every little bit helps.
yeah.
So omai tachi, the same thing as the omai tachi over here. No, we've already seen before, it's a particle in this case making this more specific by this. Sabaki, as we talked about before, is the idea of judgment. So it's not just judgment, it's the judgment of the person who's being referred to as you in this case. This is not just an in general you, by the way, this is a specific biblical context of when the kingdom of Judah was frankly not in the best of states at this time. This is before the Babylonian exile, when the people of Judah were shockingly sent into exile in Babylon, and before which they had been not behaving appropriately. So it's their judgment that's being referred to in this case. And once again, we have another no, making this one more specific by all of this. So he is day. So the day of judgment of you. So the day of your judgment. Ga. Ga can also indicate the subject of a sentence similar to wa, but we'll get to that as we get to it. But that's what this is doing here. Suini, I'm not sure actually what suini refers to in this case. Miki-san, would you mind help?
Like finally?
Finally. And kita is what is the verb to come is kuru. Kita is one way of saying that. Kita, what would noda be?
Like, yeah, make it strongly, like
Emphasize it. Right. So, in other words, taken all together, the day of your judgment is coming. Make sense? Oh, right. Saru-san, would you like to try from, let me see. Wow. Okay, since the next sentence is pretty long, and I don't want to voice too much on one person, can you try from here to the end of this line, please?
Okay, Takahuro.
Akabuda, very good.
Takahuro kuni yo
Mm-hmm.
omae wa.
Right, thank you. Did you want to keep going, or do you? Okay, okay. So the end of the sentence is here. Did you want to go all the way to there? Okay, thank you.
Soma
Su.
suite
Mm-hmm.
taonero
Beru.
ga
Mm-hmm.
dare mo okoshite
Mm-hmm.
kuretai.
Kurenai.
Kurenai.
So this is da and this is na. The easiest way of distinguishing it is that ta has a little call hidden underneath the what looks almost like a slightly angular T, whereas the na has this loop-de-loop down here. So takaburu is similar to arrogance, right? Or, yeah, and kuni is the word for country. So it is an arrogant country. They're referring to the kingdom of Judah at this time that this is being written, which is the 500s-ish BC, thereabouts, before the Babylonian exile once again, for a little biblical history stuff. Omae, similar to before, this is the more singular version as opposed to omae tachi. Omae is word for you, speaking to the audience of whoever this is being directed towards. Wa, same particle as before. Sumazuite. I'm actually not sure what this one refers to. Sumazuite. What would that? What would this section mean? I'm actually not sure. Omae wa tachi sumazuite taoeru.
つまずくみlike this. When you're walking, like
Stumbling?
yeah.
Okay.
And then totally you fall down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So お前 mean kind of like 物たち the same. お前たち so
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be stumble and then fall down.
Right. So essentially they'll lose their stride after being so prideful, and they'll finally collapse. Daremo, no one. Dare is a word for who by itself. Like dare desu ka? Who is it? Daremo together creates the idea of no one. That no one. Okoshite is like to wake them up or to raise them up.
Yeah.
No, in kurenai, we can talk about this later as a grammar idea, but just for our purposes right now, refers to the idea of doing. Kurenai involves doing something for somebody else. So okoshite kurenai would be to raise someone else up, to bring someone else up, so they will fall, and no one will raise them back up. Those who have been prideful. Who said that? Saru-san said the last line. Miguel-san, would you like to take from here to here, if you don't mind?
Watashi.
Mm-hmm.
Watashi ga.
And this should be machi-machi. That was my mistake. So machi-machi.
Ni.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. And since this is functioning, this wo is functioning as a particle, so it's not wo because it's meant to refer to the object of a sentence. So it is instead. Have you seen it before?
O.
Oh, very good.
Suke.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yoshida-san, would you like to take from here to the end of this line here? Oh, yeah.
何もかも
はい。はい。
はいにする
Mm-hmm.
から
No. Excellent. Thank you. And let's see. So watashi is the same as it usually is. I or me, in this case I, because it's referring. This is the idea of God speaking to Judah. Watashi ga being the subject again. Machi machi would be towns in general. Their communities, their towns. Ni. The ni is another, ni and o are both particles. The he refers to fire. So their towns are going to burn. Tsuke, what would tsuke be?
Yeah, scared mean like a tone of fire, like action.
To do something. Okay. And
Like a put the fire or something.
right. Nani mo, nani, similar to how dare is by itself means who, nani by itself means what. Attached to the mo, similar to how dare mo becomes no one, nani mo becomes nothing. Similar, so what becomes nothing, who becomes no one when attached to the mo. Kamo, once again, I actually don't know how this word is being used.
Kind of like that. This contents like everything.
Okay. Hai refers to ashes. But arigatou gozaimasu. Ni suru, that's suru, that helping verb once again. Karada. Nothing will come from the ashes, essentially. And then using a bit of katakana, we just try this down here. Mm-hmm. Re.
Okay.
Me.
Me?
Me, yeah.
Okay.
The,
Yeah. She. No. Is it she?
all together.
Okay.
Yeah. Normally it's she, but when it's attached to the sho. So similar to what we were saying before, when the little ya, you, and yo blends into the sound for this one. This is sho. And then this is dolju for 50.
She.
No, same thing.
She.
No.
Oh, show.
Mm-hmm. It's all together sho.
Show.
Mm-hmm. And then sanji, chi, sanjini,
Say.
setsu.
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 Oh,
Because this is she, this is su.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for helping with that. Would anybody like to try saying it in Spanish?
He aquí, estoy contra ti, arrogante, declara el Señor. Dios de los ejércitos, porque ha llegado tu día, la hora en que te castigaré.
You can just ignore the 32.
Okay. Y la arrogante tropezará y caerá sin que nadie le levante. Y prenderá fuego a sus ciudades, el cual devorará todos sus alrededores.
Jeremías.
Jeremías 50, versículo 31 y 32.
Okay, thank you. So, the reason why I picked this one, which admittedly is a rather negative, a bit darker than what I usually choose, to me, there's a great deal of, arrogance is perhaps a strong word, but at the same time, when you look, for example, online, one thing you'll very often find is people who are rather in love with their own opinions. Let's put it as gently as possible. And there is the risk always when you set too much store by what you have already decided is the case or what you've already judged about other people, that you will set yourself up for a fall. That to some extent you have to remain open to what other people have to say, to what their perspective might be, and to the fact that you do not have all the answers necessarily. That whether it's because somebody else has seen something from a different point of view from what you have, or they've experienced something different from what you've experienced, you lose the ability to learn that and to benefit from it if you close yourself off in a wall of essentially asserting what I do is the best. My opinion is the best. I don't need to learn from anybody else, and I don't want to entertain any doubts about what I'm doing. And that is almost inevitably going to set somebody up for collapse. It may not be the literal context of towns burning, because this is a very specific context for a specific situation, but the overarching idea is the same. When you create an idol of yourself in your own mind by essentially worshiping your own sense of self to the beyond criticism, beyond any kind of constructive constructive reassessing of yourself, you will set yourself up for, for a fall, much like the idea of stumbling after walking with such pride. And that's not just in this case, that can be for anybody, and it's not meant to be a round condemnation of how dare you think for yourself, but rather, in the sense, always be open to the things that you do not know and that you can still learn from other people. And be careful be careful to find the right balance between self-love and self-support and believing in yourself on the one hand, which is good, but not crossing that line into being a little too sure of yourself to the point that you don't listen to other people and you don't take constructive criticism or you don't learn from your own mistakes. Does that make sense? Anybody have any thoughts that you want to share from, perhaps they thought something different from what I was thinking about this, or any examples that they want to bring from another context? Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like that. I don't like it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Once I noticed it, I wanted to stop it.
So what was the last word?
To stop the arrogance,
Yeah.
I don't know, the pride,
Mm-hmm.
all the ego stuff.
Yeah. I think a lot of us we feel that every now and then we sometimes have to check ourselves, because this is not, oh, you're doing fine versus you have to change your ways. It can be easy for anybody to potentially fall in the trap of being too set in what you're doing and too set in terms of, I know what's right, I know exactly what, I don't need to learn from anybody else. It's especially easy to feel that way when you're angry or upset, because that's the moment where you're most going to feel defensive about what you think and what you have judged about a situation. It's more so when people have a chance to calm down and breathe that it's a bit easier to take a step outside of yourself and not lose yourself in the moment.
Yeah, I think the Bible tells us to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
So if arrogance, sometimes we narrow our thoughts, and also we make more mistakes, I guess. So it's good for lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
We want to pay attention, not to be on your own minds and generous, and then
Mm-hmm.
learn from others.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure. I think the in general advice on a personal level is that sometimes, because it's very often when we are upset that it's easiest to just stand our ground and not change our thoughts about something, is to make time for yourself to take a deep breath and try and see, am I perhaps missing something that I didn't learn before? Because it's never easy to internalize potentially difficult information when you're upset. That's why you want to give yourself a space to be calm and think, okay, is this really such a bad thing that I'm hearing, or maybe should I consider it? It's always easier to do that when you're more relaxed than when you're stressed out or angry or upset. Make sense? Okay, so we're drawing close to 11 now, which is when the Bible study begins afterwards. Does anybody have any final questions before we leave off for right now, or any thoughts about anything? So, like with everything else, I'm going to post all these things this weekend, including the things that I worked on for the previous weeks that we've been doing this. So that way, the slideshows and the conversation practice that we've been doing recently will be in the WhatsApp group. Maybe if you'd like to join the WhatsApp group that we have for the class, I think you talk to Yui Sensei because you're the one in charge of that one.
Yeah, you can send me your phone number if you would like to join.
Yes.
I just have a question because I was on the waiting list and I didn't realize.
That's my area. So usually we have people who can come. So sometimes they don't cancel. Then I might let you know. But you kind of got up on the list.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you did.
I went
Oh, you
to
didn't know?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I looked in the morning and it still said wait list.
No, you
So I
were.
was gonna look for the, what do you call it, the Zoom?
Uh-huh.
But
No, yeah.
I saw it wasn't.
Right,
and that's
right.
how I knew to hurry and run over.
Okay, yeah, so
So
most of the time
it's-
it's okay because people just like somehow sign up and decide that they couldn't come. So, okay, thank you. We have cucumber.
Bring cucumber.
Maybe anybody wants this, it's like a little something from Japan. I went, so if you like, you can take that. I have something for you, but yeah, but something else for you, but no, go ahead. So I only have one bag for cucumber, but
Yeah.
and this one is kind of,
Yeah.
I guess we can
Well,
use it.
I was starting to pick up some of that stuff.
So you have a bag.
It helps to see it in this way.
袋 bolsa like a little bag
What kind of bag?
something you can put small things probably like this size pouch hi
Interesting, maybe.
面白い
Almost.
あれ